All right, folks. How's everybody doing out there? This is Josh Reeves. This is Friday, January 29th, 2016. Boy, I still got to get used to saying that, don't you? 2016. Unbelievable. Here we are in our 9th year of broadcasting. It's unbelievable. Glad to be with you all here. And wanted to give you guys a little show today. We'll get into a few news items here on the show, and I'll also give you updates as to everything that's been going on since last I updated you all about a week ago. Last time we talked, I told you about our catastrophic computer problems that we had. So I'll let you all know about that and give you updates on the film. Lots of stuff to talk about, lots of stuff I want to get into with you here today. So strap in and let's have a little convo, shall we? My website is theglobalreality.com. That's theglobalreality.com. And it's been a tough month. But hopefully it's gonna start getting better soon. I've been trying to stay positive. I'm trying to stay optimistic, even though I haven't had much to be positive or optimistic about, especially with all the issues we've been having with the computer issues and all that stuff. But good news. There is good news, surprisingly enough. Good news and bad news, I guess. The good news is that I think that I have figured out what the problem is with the Mac. And for now, it is somewhat, not all, I'm not going to say it's 100%, but somewhat back up and running. I've been messing with it, trying to get it diagnosed and trying to figure out what the problem is. And I think we finally figured out what the issue is with it. I think it's the USB module on the computer itself. Because as I told you, I have, thankfully, I learned my lesson when I made my first film, my very first film back. God, it's almost been 10 years. It's crazy. Surprising it's been that long. But back then I was doing stuff on. I mean, it doesn't seem like it was, 9 years ago or so. It doesn't seem that long ago, but it's amazing how many leaps in technology we've had since then. And I remember I made my first film, 9/11 New World Rising. I did that. It was my first film, made it on PC, on a PC. And, of course it was cruddy quality, and I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I just knew that I needed to make a film and put it out there. Because you got to remember, at that point in time, YouTube was not what it is now. I mean, YouTube had only been around a year. I got in early on YouTube. This is pre days when it was before it was owned by Google and stuff. And I think back then you could only upload 5-10 minutes or maybe 15 minutes. I think they increased it to 15 minutes after a while, but back then it was something like 10-minute clips is all you could upload, and the worst shite quality you could imagine. So there wasn't a big there wasn't a lot of people just making videos about conspiracy topics and uploading them as much back then, because it really wasn't. So I was setting out to make a proper film. It was originally supposed to be a film on secret societies and stuff, but then I realized I had all this 9/11 information. I had all this stuff that at that point hadn't really been put into a film yet. So I was like, well, it's probably, because you got to remember that was in the that was right in the heart of the days of the 9/11 Truth Movement and stuff, and I was big involved in that at the time. So I set out to make this film, 9/11 New World Rising, and I got almost all of it done. And we had a major system crash. and I lost all of my work. I had to, and I was like, I mean, we had already had like the premiere and the theater booked and everything, and had a big event planned. And we had William Rodriguez coming out to speak and all this stuff. And so it was like literally a month before the release, and about a month and a half or so before I started my show. And because I started the show back in September, towards the end of September 2007. And back then it was the Global Reality Hour. We started out with an hour, 4 days a week. And then it quickly spiraled into 6 days a week. But so I had to basically get a new hard drive and start all over within a month of the film coming out. And I worked every single day, day and night, and I got it done. And a lot of my films have been that way. I've made a lot of them on, crunch times and having to deal with equipment and computers that were not always up to 100%. But we got it done. But my point is, I learned my lesson after that incident, and I said, never again am I going to allow that to happen. So after that, I started using external hard drives and whatnot to save my work, because I mean, that was, at the time, it was a fairly new computer. But sometimes hard drives, even on newer computers, sometimes you just get a bad one and they fail. And on PCs, you have the infamous blue screen of death, and you don't have that blue screen of death on a Mac. On the Mac, it's the fucking infamous gray screen of death. So my Mac was, it actually just, like in the middle of while I was working on stuff, it just went off. And I didn't even get the gray screen of death. I just got total system shut off. Push the power button, nothing happens. Nothing would come back on. So for the past week, I've been dealing with that, messing around with it, and I've tried everything. I was like, well, because after a while, you're just like, you just start trying anything. You're just like, fuck it. Like, let's see what happens if we elevate it at 350 feet above sea level and tilt it upwards, and maybe that'll work. You know what I mean? You're just trying ridiculous shit. I guess I learned that's from my the old days of when I used to do tech support for software and Macs and stuff. You just get to the point eventually where you troubleshoot, and you go through all your fucking troubleshooting things and none of it works, and you're just like, okay, well, let's just try the ridiculous stuff now. So it wouldn't come on, nothing would power up, nothing would come on the computer. I couldn't even get anything. So that's why I thought it was a hard drive or motherboard or processor or something like that. I mean, it's this is a 5-6-year-old computer at this point. And so no, I couldn't get anything to work. Finally, I said, well, screw it. I'm just going to plug my external hard drives into this backup PC that I have and try to see if I can at least get some work done on this shitty ass PC-based video editing. God damn, I don't miss that shit. I tell you that. Oh my God, I don't miss that at all. It's terrible. It's terrible. It's slow. Shit crashes constantly. It doesn't matter. That's what I remember the most about PC editing, was that it would just crash no matter how much RAM you had. I mean, I had systems, I had one of the first quad-core systems back in 2007, 2008. 2008. It was actually right after I had the computer that I did 9/11 New World Rising on. I think the next year I got a tax return or something, and I bought, I remember what it was. Dell had, they had just come out with the quad-core systems. The first quad-core systems had come out. And Dell fucked up and this was so great. I always pray that something like this will happen again, and it never does. It's a once-in-a-lifetime thing. Dell Computers at that time messed up and put their brand new quad cores on sale for the price of what the computers they were getting rid of were. So they accidentally sold these like $2,000 computer systems for like $400 or something like that. And I happened to catch it and got on it and got one. And so I was one of the first people. People didn't even know what they were when I told them I had one. They were like, "You mean dual core?" I'm like, "No, quad core." Like, "What are you talking about, quad?" I'm like, "It has 4 processors in it." I mean, at that time, now it's standard. Like every computer has a quad core now. But back then, it was, they were brand freaking new. So I totally hit the lottery on that. I used that computer. God, I was still using that thing up until just a few years ago. So but man, I don't miss that. Even when I had an awesome system, whenever you would do video editing on PCs, if it would, I mean, you just inherently, you would always have crashes. And if it crashed while you were in the middle of doing something, well, tough titties at the kitty, that was it. You lost your work. It would save your files, but the work that you had done up until the point where it crashed, it was gone. And that's what I love about the Mac stuff is Macintoshes have got smart enough to, in their video editing software, to make it where, and it doesn't crash hardly ever. Sometimes it'll get bogged down if you're editing, if you got a lot of data and a lot of stuff going, it'll get bogged down. But they actually were smart enough to build into their software where if it crashes, if you're doing something, boom, it doesn't matter. It remembers the very second of everything you were doing. So when you open it right back up, all your work's there and you haven't lost it. So over the past weeks, as I've been having these computer problems, I said, well, screw it. I'm going to plug my external drives into this old PC and just, at least, I mean, you got to understand, I'm just trying to find any way to keep everything going. That's my constant, seems like that's my constant job, is just trying to not come to a standstill and keep everything moving forward. That's just what I constantly am doing. So I did that and started working on it, and God, it was giving me flashbacks, man. It was so bad because I was sitting there going, oh God, I just can't work like this, I get a little, I'll get a little work done, boom, crash, lose all my effort. It's like, oh man. And it looks like crap, and you can't do nearly as much as far as like the look of it and the effects and everything, and the fonts, just everything, the transitions. So I worked on that for a few days and got frustrated and was like, well, hell, man, I don't know what I'm going to do now because this is going nowhere. Trying to do it on this PC. I mean, it was really just in the spirit of trying to keep everything moving, trying to keep everything going forward, trying not to, throw my hands up in the air and just admit defeat, because I'll never do that. So I had all that stuff plugged into the PC, and I don't know why. I don't even know what position. It was like I forgot that all the stuff was plugged into the to the PC. So I went back over to the Mac and I hit the button and it came on. And I was like, oh my God, it came on, and then gray screen of death. I was like, oh shit. Well, this is progress, We're farther than we were. And so I went, well, wait a second here. That's odd. So that was, again, going back to my old, troubleshooting days. I said, okay, so none of the external hard drives or anything, nothing is plugged into the USB ports. So I turned it off and looked back there, and I had a couple other things plugged into the USB. Sort of unplugged all the stuff with that. All the mice and keyboards and stuff are Bluetooth, so you don't have to worry about that. And I hit the button again, and it came on. And I was like, oh, well, all right, sweet. All right, this is cool. This is rad. It's it's up and running. It seems like something's okay. But then I started noticing after I was like, well, okay, it's up and running. So of course I went and unplugged all the stuff from the PC, started plugging in the external hard drives back in, and it started doing that thing again. And then my hard drive started doing this thing where they were spontaneously like rebooting themselves. I've never seen that. Like it would make them in there. You get this little thing that pops up on the side of the Mac that says you unplugged your hard drive without hitting eject or dropping into the trash can or whatever it tells you to do. And so that's when I started noticing. Okay, well, obviously this has got to be something to do with the USB. I don't know what you call it, the unit or the module, USB. I guess it's the module, USB module on the computer itself. So I unplugged the USBs again, and then I had another older PC. It's one we used to use for the network stream. And I was like, well, let's pull this up. Let's plug them into this. I want to make sure it's not the hard drives or something. They could be failing, and the hard drives are fine. I mean, they're running fine. So I guess my deduction is that something in the USB module is causing the whole system to shut down and fail when anything's plugged into it. But when nothing's plugged into it, it seems to work okay, and I can tell it's not 100%. So maybe it's getting ready to fail further. I don't know. But this has only been since today that I've discovered this, and it's been a week since it started happening. So, of course, in my excitement, I'm like, well, shit, I'm going to do a fucking radio show today. I'm going to get up here and let everybody know what's been going on with this. So hopefully it's not the entire system. I mean, like I said, I'm sure stuff is probably getting ready to fail on it. It's an old computer, and I've really ran this thing into the ground. I'll tell you what, it's funny. I noticed right underneath the front panel of the of the computer, I noticed that, like, I don't know what you call it, the it's like facing or whatever it is on the front. It's the screen and the computer is one unit, and I started noticing that, like, it was peeling up around the bottom, and I looked at where you put the RAM at, in like I don't know what you call it, the face of the computer. I guess it's kind of just, maybe it's just stuck on there or something. I don't really know how they do it, but anyway, I started noticing it looked melted, and I think I was just running this fucker so hot. It was actually starting to melt some of the casing of the iMac itself. Like, woo! That must have been that Bowie film that did that. Because, I mean, I was already, running this thing full blast for months and months and months prior to the Bowie film thing. And then I stayed up for, I don't know, 3 or 4 days. No sleep, just worked all the way through getting that Bowie film out, which, by the way, has now become the fastest, most viewed, not the most viewed video I've ever done, but like the most views in the shortest amount of time of any video I've put out. So thank you very much, everybody out there. And the feedback and response to that's been amazing. You can get an HD download of that at our download shop at my website for $5. SD, just the regular standard version, is on YouTube. But if you want the HD quality that you can watch on your TV or through your TV box or your computer or whatever, that's definitely the one to get. And I'll talk more about that because I've got some stuff I want to add to that. Probably going to have to end up doing a follow-up video for that as well, because as I'm sure a lot of you are probably aware, this thing has not stopped. There has still been information, and look, a lot of people, there's been people left comments, not my hardcore fans and not people who really get it, but people leaving. It's funny, man. You can put a million things into a film, and some people won't give you credit or won't even mention the million awesome things. They'll point out, they try to act like they're the hall monitors or something. Oh, you didn't put this in there. Well, number one, yes, I said that when I made it. I didn't put everything in there because it wasn't supposed to be a fucking full-length film. It was supposed to be a mini film to get out quickly to get the information out there. That's why I took the time out of working on the Spellcasters. I could have waited. I could have said, well, fuck it, I'll wait till Spellcasters is done, and then I'll make this Bowie film thing. And I said, something told me, no, get this done now. And honestly, I think I did a pretty damn good job for getting a film that's almost an hour long out that quickly in the span of 3 days. It's just unbelievable. So, of course, it's not perfect. And, of course, there's stuff that I left out. But I'll have to do a follow-up video. But, again, I've said this before. No matter what film I make and no matter what subject it is, there's always going to be stuff that's not going to be in there. And only somebody who's never made, and I go and look at these people who leave these comments, they've never made a film themselves. They never even made a fucking YouTube video. If you don't think I've put everything into a movie, then my advice to you, Bubba, is to go and work your ass off and for no money and barely survive every day to get out information and go and put out a movie. And hey, you go put all the stuff in there I missed. Instead of telling me what I didn't put in there, even though some of the stuff I left out intentionally because there's no way you have time to fit all this stuff in there, go make your own video. I don't get it. If you don't like the way I'm doing something, then goddamn it, go do it yourself. Go do it better than me. I mean, that's why I do this. And I never, in any of my films, and that's the problem I have tried, and that's kind of the issue I've had with the Spellcasters. And I've kind of just had to say, you know what? Screw it, dude. That's the thing. I've had to accept the fact, and I think other people out there need to accept this too, and it's okay. It's not your fault. I didn't know it either. But that's the thing. You have to accept that no one is ever going to be able to make a film that has everything there is to know in it. And that's where the responsibility comes to the individual. If you found stuff that I didn't find, and you found stuff that I didn't put in some of these films, that's awesome. That's great. But don't try it, don't treat it like I'm somehow inferior because I left one little tidbit out. I mean, it's always going to be that way. And some things I do that intentionally so there can be that thrill of victory. Because my thing, if you don't know me and you don't know my work and you haven't been listening to me for the 9 years I've been on air, my big thing has always been encouraging people to do their own homework, do their own research. Because it is fulfilling. It's fulfilling to come into those aha moments and come into those discovery moments yourself. And I feel, I don't know, I feel sometimes when I'm finding this stuff, I'm like, because I find stuff sometimes that I'll go look, I'm like, I don't think anybody's ever found this before. I'll go look on the internet and go, oh shit, no one has found this before. And that's exciting. That thrill of discovery is so exciting. It's better than any drug. It's better than sex. It's better than anything. That rush that you get when you find that tidbit of information that nobody else has ever found, it is irreplaceable. And I want you to have that feeling too. So I try to also, when I do find those things, I try to put that across in the films and so that when you watch them, you have that feeling too. And that's, that to me is the major thing that I try to achieve with any of my work and any of my films. And so when I do get those comments back from you guys, where you say that, like, oh my gosh, my mind is blown, or oh my gosh, I can't believe this. I love that. To me, that's it. That's what I'm shooting for. I'm shooting for you to sort of vicariously have that same, oh my God, floored feeling, because it levels you up. It brings you to another level. It brings you to the next level when you have that. And that's kind of what I have always tried to consider myself a facilitator of, and why I largely why I make these films, other than just, obviously to get out information and inform people, and also, for it to be somewhat entertaining. I mean, I don't do this from really from an entertaining standpoint, but I mean, there is a part of me that does consider myself an entertainer. At some point, I've considered myself a researcher, and a filmmaker and a radio host and all that stuff first, but I come from a background of being a musician, and so there is an element of performer in there for me as well. So it's I want people to, as much as possible, be able to experience the things that I experience while I'm researching these films and putting them together. Because I tell you, that's why I make films, because I learn more during the time when I make a film. I've said this a million times, but I always learn more and feel like I come to a new level every time I make a new film. And one of the reasons why the Spellcasters has taken so long is because I have unraveled, and this always happens, and it's a good thing, but every good thing sometimes has its negative elements too, and this is no different. I unraveled a fucking can of worms, man, that I wasn't expecting to unravel when I got into doing this film. It was really just going to be, because that's one of the biggest questions I've gotten through the years is who controls Hollywood? Who's really in charge of it? Is it the Jews? Is it the Vatican? Is it China? Is it this group? Is it Scientology, this and the other? And I just finally said, you know what? Fuck it, man. I've got all this information, and if you go and look on the internet and try to find out these things, who runs Hollywood, you can't find dick. Most of it's all, opinion, and very little of it's based in fact. So I said, you know what? Look, I mean, again, it seems like it's up to me. Nobody else is going to do this. And so I'm going to do it. And it was meant to be just a stopgap between Lost Secrets 2 and the next Lost Secrets 3, which I'm planning on trying to finish up this year as well. But it's ballooned into a much bigger thing. Now it's going to be a two-part film. It's going to be part one. It's going to deal mostly with Hollywood and the kind of the film and movie aspect of it, and a lot of Scientology and mind control and all that stuff. And then Volume 2 is going to deal largely with the same topics, but more of like the music elements of it. So we'll talk about suspicious deaths of Hollywood stars and whatnot in Volume 1, and then we'll do suspicious deaths and suspicious. I don't want to give too much away, but I've got some stuff no one's ever found that's going to be in Volume 2. That's just mind-blowing. And so that's been the biggest thing for me, is I've found so much crap that I've had to say, look, there's no way, dude, that you can possibly get all the information that there is to know about these subjects in these films. And it sucks because most people don't do their own homework. Most people don't do their own research. And then when they watch the film, instead of pointing out all the amazing things that you did talk about or mention, they say, well, why didn't you put this in there? Well, what about this? Hey, did you see this? And 99.9% of the time, everything anybody points out to me, it's stuff I've already seen. And it didn't go into the film or go into the piece of work because either there wasn't enough time or I didn't feel it was relevant. I'm talking like fucking Ricky over here from Trailer Park Boys now. My brain is fried. Relevant. It's not relevant. Fucking a toe-to-so. Oh, Jesus. Or it's not, there was some stuff in the Bowie things. They were like, oh, how come you didn't mention that the Grateful Dead had an album called Dark Star, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, what, dude, was the fucking movie supposed to be about the Grateful Dead? No. If you found that and you think it's relevant, hey, man, kudos to you, buddy. You're a step up above of most everybody else. Now go make your own fucking film and put it out. But they don't. So I'm just going to have to start putting in these films and just probably say it in the film. Probably going to have to go out and put back and put it in the Spellcasters. And just, have the caveat in there that, look, I'm aware that there is tons more to this story than is in this film. But that's when it becomes the job of the viewer and the job of the person who's watching the film to go and find those things themselves. But I do think that with this film, The Spellcasters, that you're going to have a much more, a much easier time being able to decode, explain, and understand really who controls Hollywood, and it's not one person or one entity or one group or anything else. That's the main thing that I think is the big takeaway. And it certainly was a surprise to me, because I think I was probably one of those people that was also in that camp of thinking it was, one particular group over another, because it sometimes that's what the obvious things point in the direction of. But just like every other topic, I don't know why I would have thought this topic would be any different from any other. Just like every other topic, it's never just the obvious suspects or who you think it is that's running the show or involved in it or anything else. And that's, again, that's part of the charade. They want you to think that one group or one, I don't know, one entity or whatever is running these things, because then that conceals the involvement of the other entities. So that's really been my goal with this film, and that's why I've taken the extra time. Because when I make a film, when I make a mini film like the Bowie film, it's a quick thing. Mistakes get made. For instance, in the Bowie film, one thing I didn't point out, I should have pointed out, but again, it was a quick thing. But I'll just say it here now, and then you'll know. I'm sure most of you probably noticed this, but I screwed up. See, I'm a huge Stanley Kubrick fan. I always have been. So sometimes I just know so much about Kubrick that sometimes I take for granted that I know so much. I just assume everybody else knows as much of the wacky crap about him that I do. So there was some mistakes in that thing, a few but hey, that's the way it is. There's still enough really awesome information in there to make it worthwhile. But I'll give you an example. The main thing that I think I screwed up on the most was I didn't put in there in 2001: A Space Odyssey. The wormhole thing is not actually in front of Saturn like it is in the movie Interstellar. It's in front of Jupiter. But the reason that is, and I knew this, I just didn't iterate that in the film. The reason it is because Kubrick originally wanted it to be Saturn. That's the thing. It was originally Saturn in the original treatments that him and Arthur C. Clarke did for the film. Because, see, most people think that 2001: A Space Odyssey was based on an Arthur C. Clarke book, but it actually wasn't. Because Arthur C. Clarke was a well-known and established science fiction writer before that movie. But what a lot of people don't understand is that it wasn't like most films where the book exists, the book has been out there for years, someone takes it, writes an adaptation for it for the screen, writes a screenplay, and then makes a movie. It wasn't that way. With 2001: A Space Odyssey, Kubrick really was just using Arthur C. Clarke as a name. The novelization of 2001: A Space Odyssey actually came after the film was made and was just kind of done so they could have a well-known and established science fiction writer associated with the film. And so, because of that, they couldn't. I mean, if you've seen 2001, I'm sure everybody. I say that, but there are some people who hadn't seen 2001: A Space Odyssey. I don't get that. I don't get why you haven't seen that movie a million times like I have. But and it's funny, how people have seen Star Wars a million times but never seen 2001: A Space Odyssey. It makes no sense to me. Like, that's putting the fucking cart before the horse right there, if I ever heard of it. And so there's so much stuff from the ships, and there's so much stuff that was pioneered in 2001: A Space Odyssey. It was later used in Star Wars. And you can see it when you watch the movie. But even though they were pushing the boundaries of special effects, and at that time had special effects in that movie that were most other films wouldn't see for a decade or 15 years, they couldn't get the rings right in the special effects for Saturn in 2001: A Space Odyssey. But you can actually go and look it up. It's verified that Kubrick actually went on record and said that they originally wanted it to be that way. So Christopher Nolan, of course, and, you know, the film Interstellar, when I first watched it, I couldn't see the forest for the trees because I already knew Christopher Nolan was, you know, working for the bad guys, so to speak. That it really became clear to me after that last Dark Knight film. You know, I remember watching that thing. I have never in my life watched a film and really felt the mind control waves come through as I did in that film. I mean, it made my aura feel like, it just made me feel dirty watching that movie. It didn't make me feel good. It made me really feel negative. I didn't like it. I was like, this movie got stuff encoded into it. And then, of course, the Aurora shootings happened while the film was going a couple of days after that. And then, it was a year later or so, we had the Sandy Hook shootings. And, of course, in that movie, one of the targets they show, I think was the bad guy, Bane, in that. They show a map that has Sandy Hook on it as one of the targets. I mean, give me a fucking break. So, you know, I wasn't a fan. I didn't like Inception. I thought that movie sucked. I'm just not a fan of Christopher Nolan. I knew whose team he was playing on. And then with all the stuff we found, like you know, Nathan Crowley, relative of Aleister Crowley and stuff, and his obsession with black magic and Kubrick and all this stuff. When I first watched Interstellar, I just went, oh, well, this is, you know, this is just Kubrick redo. This guy's taking bits and pieces from Kubrick and making his own thing out of it, and they're probably, you know, going to use this guy. They already used him for the staged gun grab shootings at the Aurora shootings and Sandy Hook. So probably the next thing is going to be, you know, a staged alien invasion. You know, if Kubrick faked the moon landings, then who would they get in the modern day to say, you know, fake a alien invasion or fake a, you know, an asteroid or, you know, whatever scenario it may be. And I immediately said, well, it's got to be Christopher Nolan. So, but in retrospect, after I went back and watched the film again, and it actually isn't anything like 2001: A Space Odyssey at all. The stories are completely different. There are just elements that are obviously taken and done in tribute to Stanley Kubrick. And of course, if you watch that Bowie film, you'll see why that is. So, yeah, that was the thing. I said in the Bowie film that the black hole was near Saturn in 2001: A Space Odyssey, and actually was near Jupiter. But again, that was because Kubrick originally intended it to be Saturn, and then Christopher Nolan did that, of course, in Interstellar. So, you know, that's not a huge blunder, really. I mean, it's not that big. But it's really the biggest one there. But there's been so much other stuff that's come out since then. Those of you guys might remember about a year ago, I think it was about this time last year or earlier, I made the prediction that this was even before they announced it was coming back. There was rumors going around that they were going to revive the X-Files. And I said immediately, I came on the show and said, you can go pull those shows. They're there from about a year or so ago. And I said, mark my words, they're going to bring back the X-Files. They're going to take stuff like what I've been talking about for years, what other people have been talking about for years, and they're going to do like they did with the original X-Files. Don't get me wrong, I love the X-Files, but just because I love the X-Files doesn't mean I won't point out the fact that it is used to, as I've coined years ago, fictionalize the truth so the truth seems like fiction. And of course they did that all over again with Volume 1. I said, you know, this is what they're going to do. When they're going to bring back the X-Files, and they're going to use it as a part of this phony disclosure that many people, researchers and conspiracy people and whatnot, think it is real disclosure. anytime anybody says, hey, I want to come on your show, I want to talk about, disclosure, it's real. Oh, you ain't coming on my show to talk about that shit. It's all staged. And, lo and behold, the first X-Files episode comes out, and it's like basically what I've been saying for years. That aliens exist, but they've been hiding their existence from us, meanwhile using space-based weapons to shoot down alien craft, using the technology to then make man-made UFOs that are really what has been going out and making people think that they've been abducted and all this stuff. People are really getting experimented on by, human people, but they're led to believe that it's aliens, and these aliens are non-hostile and they want to help us, because that's what von Braun talked about. Warner von Braun talked about that, in those last days, that we were going to be told that non-hostile aliens that actually wanted to help us and help us break free of the supremacy that the world power leaders have had us under, were going to try and come and help us, but we were going to be told that they were hostile and that we needed to weaponize space to fight them off. And that's pretty much what they did in that first X-Files episode last week. I was blown away, but not as blown away as I was by the second episode that aired the following night. And when I first started watching this episode, I was just like, because the first episode, if you haven't seen it yet, spoilers. Spoiler alert, here you go. It was jam-packed, and they had this guy. It was funny, man. I really, seriously, it was this character they had, Tad O'Malley. So hilarious. It was kind of like they took Alex Jones, like the character traits and the personality of Alex Jones, and then took a lot of the stuff that I've been talking about for years and meshed it with that. And Chris Carter himself, I saw recent interviews with Chris Carter himself where he said 100%, admittedly, that a lot of the stuff in this new X-Files was going to be taken from a lot of the quote-unquote internet radio personalities that have popped up in the years since the original X-Files went off the air, and was going to be sort of an amalgamation of a lot of the different internet radio hosts out there that talk about conspiracies and aliens and all this stuff. So I knew after that, I was like, well, I'm on their radar, so they're definitely going to be taking some stuff from me. So the first episode airs, and it was all that stuff rolled into one, and it was good. I mean, I highly suggest you watch it. If you haven't seen it, definitely go watch it. And then we see at the end, towards the end, it appears they're going to be opening the X-Files back up, and then we see the Smoky Man, and that's confirmed. Of course, he says, oh, we got a problem. They're opening the X-Files back up. And then the next night, the next episode airs, and it's like you would have thought they would have picked up where the last episode left off, but they didn't. All of a sudden, Mulder and Scully are just back in the FBI like it's, like it's no big deal. They're back working on the X-Files. It's like, wait a second. You just had an episode where it ended. What happened to all this stuff in between? So I was kind of like, I don't know. This is probably going to be kind of wonky. And throughout this episode, there's this high. I'm not going to give too much away, so you can go watch it. But I'll just give some of the details here, but not a lot to where it will ruin it for you. But there's this high pitched squeal that happens that like has information encoded into it, and it affects this guy, and he kills himself with a fucking sticking this thing through his ear, and then it starts affecting Mulder. And boy, I don't know what was in that or what they used to do that, but it made my fucking cat go ape shit. It was bizarre. I mean, it was making my head hurt, really. But it made my cat go berserk. it was crazy. My cat comes fucking hauling ass from the back room. He's hauling ass down the hallway, runs in the living room, going nuts, right? And he runs in, and the next thing I know, my cat is chasing this fucking gigantic brown spider. It was huge, dude. And you know, I don't get a lot of spiders, so it was you know, it was a weird thing. It was almost like it was like, what, that fucking squeal? Like, call this spider out or something? It was bizarre, and the only thing I could equate it to was this high-pitched squeal that you hear in Stanley Kubrick's 2001: A Space Odyssey. When they go to the moon and they unbury the monolith on the moon, it emits this high-frequency squeal that, like, you know, drives people to the ground, and it's doing that to Mulder, and that's exactly what it sounds like. Wow, well, that's kind of odd, because I just the week before, like right after I'd put this Bowie film out, I remember telling people, I got to see, I maybe even said it on air, I don't remember, but I said I had the sneaking suspicion that there's probably going to be some hints to this whole Bowie Blackstar thing that I put in this film in the new X-Files. But when I heard the high-pitched squeal thing that, you know, associated with the obelisk and stuff from 2001: A Space Odyssey, I just said, well, that's, you know, I just kind of thought, oh, that's a coincidence or whatever. And in this episode, they're examining these children that have these weird deformities and all this stuff. And if those of you who watched the original X-Files series will remember that Mulder and Scully had a baby named William that, you know, had like alien DNA or some shit like that. And it was in its crib, and it was like levitating stuff with its mind. And it was had powers. And they put it up for adoption, so to an anonymous family, so, you know, they would be protected or whatever. And in the course of this new episode, for reasons they don't really explain, they show two flashback scenes. Well, they're not even flashback scenes. They're sort of flashback scenes that never happened, which I think is kind of strange. You know, usually the norm for any flashback scene in any film or TV show or anything like that is, you know, you're flashing back to a moment. Maybe it's something that wasn't depicted on the show, or maybe it happened in between time, so they have a flashback or a recall. Well, what was strange is that there was the first flashback scene featured Scully and her and Mulder's child William, but he was grown up. Well, that never happened. She's like taking him to school and all this stuff. Well, and the kid's like, you know, old, 9 or 10 or something in these supposed flashback scenes. Well, that never happened because the kid got put up for adoption. So I was sitting there going, well, this is weird. You know, I don't know if I like this or not. This is fucking strange. Why would you have a flash? It doesn't make any sense. Why would you flash back to something that never happened? Is it just like a dream? Maybe, okay, Scully's fantasizing that maybe this would have happened had she kept the child and not given it up for adoption. And this is a dream sequence, as it were, for something that she's dreaming or dreamed might have happened. But then weird little things happen that make you go, well, why would they put that in there? And then later in towards the end of the episode, there's also a scene of a similar dream thing of the same kind with Mulder. Now, this is where it gets weird, because at first I was like, okay, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Okay, this is, you know, Scully just having a fancy or a dream, or, you know, what it might have been like if, you know, her taking William to school or whatever. But then they did the same thing with Mulder, and I thought, well, that doesn't wash. That doesn't make any sense. Why would Mulder simultaneously have the same sort of fantasy of him and their child William and spending time together in this, and then events played out within this sequence, and then it all made sense. And then I realized, wait a second. these little dream sequence things are not here to progress the plot. They're not here to make any sense or have anything really to do with the subject matter at hand. These are intentionally designed to deliver encoded messages. Yet again, just like I depict in my new Bowie film. And lo and behold, folks, oh my God, I about had a fucking coronary. Oh my God. There's Mulder sitting on the couch with their son, William. And what are they watching on TV? They're watching 2001: A Space Odyssey. You see the apes running around. Then they show the black obelisk. I about fell on the fucking floor, man. And mind you, this is exactly 1 week to the day after I released the Bowie film. 1 week to the day. And then Mulder goes on and he's explained to William about what the obelisk is. Oh, some people think it's alien technology, this, that, and the other. And then they go from there and cut to an outside shot of him and William outside. And they've got those, those Estes rockets, those, you put those model rockets you put together and they launch. They cut immediately from the shot of 2001: A Space Odyssey and the obelisk. That alone, to me, sealed the deal on the high-pitched squeal and stuff that Mulder. That definitely was a connection to the obelisk thing from 2001. And then they cut directly to this model rocket that is the motherfucking Apollo 11 rocket. The Apollo 11 rocket, folks. Mulder and his son William are getting ready to launch the Apollo 11 rocket. And then they quote JFK's famous speech on, when he talked about the man-moon mission. Why do we do these things? Not because they are easy, but because they are hard. And him and his son are quoting this. I fucking screamed. I just was like, if there is anybody alive on the planet at this point, folks, that could say all this is just a big coincidence, you, my friend, are the one that needs to be checked into the loony bin, not me or anybody else that believes in this stuff. We are well past the point of any of this being chance or coincidence. Okay? And if that wasn't enough, boy, the hits just kept on coming. And if that wasn't enough, after the X-Files was over, they showed a pilot for a new program called Lucifer. I saw it on the screen. It popped up. It said, "Up next, Lucifer." And it had little horns. And I went, what? Lucifer? Boy, we are just well past the point of any rationality here. Well, fucking A, Lucifer, huh? Well, let's see what this is about. Because, obviously with the Sirius and all the connections we've already established with, with Lucifer and all that stuff. And so the show starts, and there's it's going along. 3 minutes into this show, Lucifer, they play the song "Fame" by David Bowie, and I was fit to be tied. I haven't drank in 5 years. I almost went and got a bottle. And not to drink, but just to crack over my own head. Because it was just, at that point, I was just like, okay, this is a mind fuck beyond. I can handle a lot of mind fuck. I've been doing this long enough to where I'm kind of used to getting my mind fucked. But that was beyond the level of mind fuck, folks, even for me. And I said, okay, this shit's not a coincidence. Let me look this shit up. Well, lo and behold, to find out that this Lucifer show is actually based on the comic book Lucifer, which was a spin-off of the comic book The Sandman, which, of course, was written by who? Neil Gaiman. Now, I already knew everything I needed to know about Neil Gaiman because Neil Neil Gaiman, well, it claims he was. My opinion still is, but Neil Gaiman grew up and was raised in a family of Scientologists. He came from a Scientology background. And the opening scene takes place in Hollywood. You can see the Capitol Records building in Hollywood in the background of the opening scenes. And the little club that they're in where they're playing David Bowie's Fame is in that neighborhood. Well, David Bowie was actually on Capitol Records. It's EMI over, of course, in Britain and whatnot. Capitol in the United States. But, and right around the corner from there is the Scientology. They don't show it in the show, but right around the corner from there, that same area, excuse me, is the big Scientology building in LA. So, my goodness gracious. So, here we go. Scientology connection, Bowie, Lucifer, right after the mindfuck of the X-Files. And then I look up and say, well, who's behind this show? You know, who's doing this show? Okay, Neil Gaiman created it. It was based on his comic or whatever. And I look it up, and lo and behold, that pilot episode was written by a gentleman by the name of Tom Capinos. And I went, oh, fuck. Because I know who Tom Capinos is. He wrote and created another one of my favorite shows of all time, Californication. Now, who's it? The star of Californication? David Duchovny. In fact, in the first season of Californication, there's a reference to Scientology. There's this chick that they're trying to set Duchovny up with, and she's telling him, oh, yeah, you know, my husband left me for his assistant or whatever, and Duchovny's like, oh, yeah, that's the biggest cliche ever, and like, oh, yeah, it was a dude. Like, ouch, well, you know, okay. Oh, your husband left you for a dude. All right, well, you know, it could be worse. Really, it could be worse. How? Well, he could have left you for a Scientologist. And then the girl goes, I am a Scientologist. You know, and then he just wants to bury himself. And then later, she gets naked for him, and she wants him to, you know, wants her to bang him, or wants him to bang her, and, and he's banging her. And he's fucking banging this chick out, dude. He's like, oh, yeah, you're one sexy Thetan. He's like, are you clear? And he's like banging her. I'm sitting here going, oh, so somebody was kind of taking it seemed like, okay, somebody's taking a jab at Scientology here. It made me wonder if Tom Capinos was, you know, a former Scientologist or something else like that. Well, after doing some research into Neil Gaiman, it comes out that actually his family, he was raised a Scientologist. A lot of his family's still in Scientology. He claims to not be a supporter of their beliefs and everything, and he says he supports him. But I think that really probably stems from the fact that, you know, he doesn't want to be declared a, well, what do they call them? What's I forget the term. I have so much, it's in my film, my new film. They basically declare somebody that, you know, an SP, a suppressive person. And if they declare you, if Scientology declares you or somebody in your family an SP, then, you know, you're not allowed to have contact with them and all that. So I was like, oh, okay. But that, I mean, folks, I just, my brain was oozing out. I was like, okay. And you got to understand that episode of that show, Lucifer, even though it just aired, then I checked online, it actually got leaked online back in September. And I went and checked it, and it was the same. The Bowie song was in there and everything. And again, Bowie's own producer has said, since all this came out, that all this stuff has been planned years in advance. Same thing with the X-Files. The X-Files thing, that episode was shot probably about this time last year, with the obelisk and all that in there. So that's led to a lot of people thinking that possibly Bowie faked his death. I don't think that he faked his death so much as, well, it's possible. But these, I mean, you got to get into this whole thing of there being multiple people, multiple clones, just like I've talked about in the past with Paul McCartney. I mean, there's at least 6 or 7 Paul McCartneys. There's, I think, 6 or 7 George Bushes. There's at least 8 different Barack Obamas. You can look at the pictures, the ears and the noses, facial features and stuff are different. But then this clip popped up of this guy talking on television that people have said was David Bowie, and I don't believe that was David Bowie at all. But possibly could have been, you know, one of his lookalikes or something. But regardless, the high weirdness and the high strangeness and all this stuff just continues, man. It's just mind-blowing. So it'll be interesting to see what else comes out in these new X-Files episodes. But again, I think we can safely say that I was correct in my original estimation of this stuff when I said that no matter what ends up being in these X-Files episodes, this is absolutely being used and being brought back as a vehicle to take real information and whatnot and attempt to fictionalize it and make people associate it with fiction so that when they hear about it in real life, they just say, oh, well, that's just X-Files nonsense. And they don't think that it's real. So it definitely, there's definitely an agenda there. But I mean, we knew that was going to happen. I mean, that was expected. But for that episode, again, a week after, it would have been 2 weeks, actually, 2 weeks to the day. So that's the other thing that's mind-blowing. Almost 2 weeks about 2 weeks to the day that Bowie died, that episode aired, and then a week after my Bowie film was out, they definitely had all this stuff planned in advance. All this stuff, and again, what it means, and you know, people are speculating about Planet X and Nibiru and all this stuff, because I mean, I think it was the day after I put out that film, this news article, people are sending it to me going, oh, you obviously didn't see this, or you would have put it in the film. I'm going, no, dumbass. This didn't come out till after the film was already done. People are saying the new Planet 9 is going to kill us, and here's why. A chill swept over the internet last week when scientists announced that there was a huge unseen planet at the far edge of our solar system, Planet 9. For decades, conspiracy theorists have predicted that an unseen planet beyond Neptune called Nibiru or Planet X is going to destroy Earth. The announcement from Caltech scientists seemed to confirm there was a planet there, and the wilder reaches of the internet have already begun predicting apocalypse. A message appeared on the website of Zachariah Sitchin, a writer who claimed aliens from Nibiru created the human race, despite the fact that Sitchin has been dead since 2010. Pastor Paul Begley, an American preacher fond of predicting apocalypse, thundered, "Something is causing the heavens to shake, and it's in your Bible. If you go into the Gospel of St. Luke, Luke 21, verse 10, nation shall rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom. Great earthquakes shall be in diverse places, and famines and pestilence and fearful sights and great signs shall there be from the heavens." Sometimes I think I should, like, just fucking quit all this stuff and just fake it and go be an apocalyptic preacher. I think I could do a goddamn good job at it. What do you think? Can I get a fucking A? I'd be the first evangelical preacher that cussed, that people would be so confused by me. Because I'd be up there and be like, I don't know what God told you today, but God told me it's going to be a good fucking day. Can I get a fucking amen up in here? Oh, man. I'd sweat a lot and fucking, it'd be great. Probably make $1 billion, too. Man, I just, I can't do it. I could probably do it. I just couldn't hold it up very long because I just can't be fake, dude. I can't. People have always questioned that, oh, why do you cuss? You make yourself sound so unprofessional and blah, 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 blah. And you make yourself sound so uneducated when you cuss and blah, blah, blah. You know what? I would rather sound uneducated. I would rather sound unprofessional than to ever be fake or be somebody I'm not. Okay? That's what you get from me. Warts and all, like it or not, man, I don't fucking fake anything. What you get from me is me. I'm myself. That's all I can be. I can't fucking be anybody else. And so I just try to be the best me I could be, warts and all. I mean, that's really it. Bailey admits he's not certain Planet 9 is Nibiru, but cheerfully predicts an asteroid strike wiping out a third of Earth's population, followed by an impact with the planet itself. Yeah, these fucking guys, man, they'll take anything. They don't give a fuck. You know what I'm saying? They're so, I mean, their dicks are so hard for an apocalypse. You could tell them that fucking Cthulhu will be here tomorrow, and they'll be like, by God, Jesus, in the Bible it says Cthulhu will rise. I mean, these motherfuckers have got a hard-on so bad for fucking the end of the world, they'll latch on to anything. You could tell them a fucking demon-possessed case of ramen noodles is going to come from fucking Zeta Reticuli next week, and they'll be up there in the pulpit. My God, golly gracious goodness, the good Lord Jesus predicted right here in Matthew chapter 18, verse 12, that in the year 2016, a flying possessed case of ramen noodles would come down here and repent against your sins. Can I get a fucking A? I mean, these guys, they'll latch on to fucking anything. They're so dick hard for an apocalypse, man, it doesn't fucking matter. Now, with that said, you know me, and you know I've always been the first person to downplay any of this stuff. But I have to admit that after what I found making that Bowie film and the stuff I've seen since then, if something isn't going to happen, if something is going to happen, somebody really wants us to think that something is going to happen. And this goes back to something I talked about around back in 2011 when we were kind of in the height of the, you know, Into the World 2012 Mayan calendar thing. And of course, nothing ended up happening. But what I said at that moment was, you know, I said from the get-go, I don't think anything's going to happen on 2012. But what I do believe is that the human will, the power of suggestion, the power of manifestation is so strong and so powerful that if you get enough people believing that, again, you know, the Cthulhu or the fucking possessed ramen noodle case or whatever, you know, if enough people believe it, anything's possible. Anything can happen. And that's kind of how I'm feeling about this, you know, or at least wondering if that might be the case. You know, is it indeed true that there's some sort of Blackstar, Nibiru, Planet X thing that is going to cause cataclysms on Earth? Or is it possible that this is being created to get us all to believe that something like this is going to happen, so that by the power of manifestation and by the power of human will, we manifest this into our reality? And to me, that's the most important thing to be aware of, and to not allow ourselves to be manipulated into using our energy to make happen. And I think that through the media, through the programming, through the television, through the movies, this is something I've really come to believe a lot more since working on the Spellcasters film, that there is a lot of that has been going on. I think that's why they pumped us full of World War III and, you know, zombie apocalypse scenarios and nuclear fallout scenarios and dystopic movies and into the world scenarios. I think they have really, truly trying to get enough people to believe that it is an inevitability or is a foregone conclusion
so that we indeed manifest that into our reality. Because, how many movies do you see being made, or how many TV shows do you see being made about us living in a perfect utopia in the future with no problems and everything's hunky-dory and the title of a Bowie album there? How many of those do we see? No, I can't name one. I'm not saying they don't exist. I'm just saying that I can't name an example off the top of my head. Everything is about end of the world, doomsday, dystopic society, end of the world, nuclear holocaust, rise of the machines. There aren't really anything being put into the consciousness of humans that is making us manifest a perfect world. We are constantly bombarded with the idea of the manifestation of the apocalypse. And in my opinion, right there, that's how we begin to change things. We need to stop allowing ourselves to have our energy manipulated into manifesting the negative. Because if we're constantly manipulated into that, that's what's going to happen. So, there you go. Okay, so I gave you the good news. The computer is back up and running. It's going good now. But the bad news is, folks, we got to cover our operating costs. And we only have a couple of days left to do this. We need to have 100% of our operating costs covered in here no later than Monday. And if we could get it in by Sunday, it would be even better. We lost about a week or two between the Bowie film and the computer going down on getting the spellcasters out. But I'm going to get back to work on this thing today and hopefully be able to have this out sometime the next week and a half, 2 weeks at the absolute most. But I can't do it and can't get that out unless we get these operating costs covered. So you can go to the website, you can use the donate button, you can use the banner there if you want to pay with PayPal. Here's the deal: we've got we have 6 of these packages available for a $100 contribution. What you're going to get is you'll get a year membership to the archives. You'll get a download of the film when it's out, and you're going to get a special limited edition signed DVD of the film as well for a $100 donation. We need 6 people to contribute those, to get those. We have 6 of those available. $100 donation. It'll get your name in the film and all that stuff too. And you'll get the limited edition DVD nobody else is going to get. And we also have a grand prize we're giving away. You can go to our Global Reality Facebook page and see that. It's worth about $2,000. The highest contributor for this month is going to get that prize. And everybody who contributes the $100 to get the other deal is going to be in the running and get your name drawn out of a hat for another big grand prize we'll give away coming up on the 1st that's valued at about $500. So please go and help us reach 100% of our goal. We've got to get every bit of our goal reached no later than Monday, not Tuesday, no later than Monday, so we can cover our operating costs, stay alive, and get this film out, folks. It's more important than ever now that you support our work, because there are not very many people left out there that are telling you the real deal like I've told you today in this show and in my films and the rest of it. So don't delay. Get in the running. Get yourself one of these big package deals. Go contribute $100 today at theglobalreality.com. My name is Josh Reeves. I love each and every one of you. We'll see you later. Take care.